The plate of fries trembled slightly in his hands, not from weakness, but from a memory he had spent years outrunning, a memory of hunger that never truly left no matter how far he climbed. The cafe smelled of coffee and salt and warm bread, and the late afternoon light fell across the wooden table where he sat alone in a tailored suit that felt heavier than it looked. Across from him, a young mother hesitated, her shoulders tight with the kind of caution learned from too many quiet disappointments, her little boy staring at the golden fries as if they were something rare and fragile. In that moment, before anything else happened, the question settled into the air and into the reader's heart, because what would you do if a stranger asked for something so small, and it carried the weight of their dignity, their pride, and their child's hunger? Matthew Carter had learned long ago how to read balance sheets, predict markets, and hide his past behind calm eyes and controlled movements. He was known across the United States as a quiet investor, the kind who bought failing companies and turned them into giants without ever stepping into the spotlight. The world called him disciplined, brilliant, untouchable. What it never saw was the boy he used to be, the one who counted pennies on a cracked kitchen table in Ohio, while his mother pretended not to be hungry so he could eat. Sitting there now, with a watch worth more than the building he grew up in, he felt that old ache stir as the young woman stood nearby, unsure whether to step forward or retreat. Her name was Sarah Whitman, though Matthew did not know it yet, and every line in her posture spoke of exhaustion. She had driven across 3 states chasing a promise of work that fell apart the moment she arrived, leaving her with a toddler named Noah, a nearly empty wallet, and a pride that made asking for help feel like failure. The cafe had been a last stop, chosen not for comfort but for warmth, and she had planned to leave quietly once her son's restlessness became too much. But then she saw the fries, untouched, steam rising gently, and Noah's small hand tugged at her sleeve with innocent insistence. Hunger does not understand pride, and love often forces us to bend where we thought we would break. Sarah approached the table with a soft, careful step, already rehearsing an apology in her mind. She did not see a billionaire. She saw a well-dressed man who looked like he belonged, someone who might say no and confirm every fear she carried about asking strangers for kindness. Her request came out smaller than she intended, framed not for herself, but for her son, because that was the only way she could bear it. In that instant, the world narrowed to Matthew's response, and the reader might feel their own chest tighten, wondering which version of humanity would surface, the guarded one or the generous one. Matthew looked at the child first. Noah's cheeks were smudged, his jacket a size too thin for the season, his eyes bright with hope untempered by experience. The sight pierced Matthew in a way no market crash ever had. He remembered being that small, that trusting, believing that adults could fix anything. Without speaking, he slid the plate forward, his jaw tightening as something old and raw shifted inside him. Sarah's shoulders dropped a fraction, relief mixing with embarrassment, gratitude colliding with the fear of being judged. She guided Noah to the chair across from Matthew, her hands shaking as she tried to keep her composure intact. As Noah ate, the cafe noise faded into a gentle hum. Matthew listened to Sarah's story unfold not in words, but in details he recognized too well: the worn shoes, the careful way she rationed napkins, the way she watched her son eat before even thinking about herself. He felt an unexpected urge to ask questions, to know more, and he wondered if he was crossing a line or finally stepping back into the world he had left behind. The reader might feel it too, that quiet pull between staying safe and reaching out, between protecting oneself and choosing compassion. Matthew ordered another plate, then another, pretending it was nothing, though each small act felt monumental. Sarah tried to refuse with a faint smile that did not quite hide the cracks forming beneath it, but exhaustion won, and she let kindness in, even as it frightened her. Noah laughed when ketchup smeared his nose, and for a moment, the cafe felt like something softer, a place where survival paused and humanity breathed. Time passed differently then, stretching and folding as stories do when they matter. Matthew learned that Sarah had once studied nursing, that she had believed hard work would always be enough, that life had taught her otherwise. Sarah learned that Matthew traveled often, that he liked quiet places, that there was sadness behind his steadiness. Neither spoke of wealth or status, and none of it mattered. What mattered was the fragile bridge forming between two lives that had both known hunger, loss, and the sharp edge of uncertainty. When the plates were cleared and Noah leaned sleepily against his mother, Matthew felt the familiar urge to leave, to retreat into anonymity and control. Instead, he stayed. He scribbled something on a receipt, a number, an address, a chance. He did not frame it as charity but as an opportunity, a temporary job at one of his community health projects, help that preserved dignity rather than erasing it. Sarah stared at the paper as if it might vanish, hope and fear warring in her eyes, and Matthew recognized that look because he had worn it once too. They parted quietly, without promises or grand gestures. Matthew returned to his life of meetings and flights, but something had shifted. He followed up, ensured the opportunity was real, watched from a distance as Sarah found stability as Noah grew steadier, safer. Months later, when Sarah learned who Matthew truly was, the revelation did not feel like betrayal but like grace. The fries had not been about food at all. They had been about being seen. Years passed, and Matthew funded clinics, scholarships, programs that fed both body and spirit, but none of it felt as significant as that single afternoon. He understood then that his wealth meant little without moments of human connection, that change often begins with a small, trembling request and a simple yes. Sarah built a life she was proud of, one rooted in resilience rather than shame, and she taught Noah that kindness could come from unexpected places, that asking for help was not weakness. If you pause here and reflect, you might wonder how many moments like that pass you by unnoticed, how often you are given the chance to be someone's turning point without ever realizing it. The story does not end with applause or headlines. It ends with quieter things, full refrigerators, warm beds, a child who grows up believing the world can be kind, because once it was. Before this story fades from your mind, take a moment to reflect and share what you would have done in that situation, and how a small act of kindness once changed your own life. If this story truly touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe, and stay with us by commenting below. Because stories like this live on only when they are carried forward by compassion.